Who will conquer the final frontier in the new space race, China or the United States? This question is sparking a global conversation about the future of space exploration. China launches its Chang'e-6 mission to the far side of the moon. US officials have expressed alarm at the pace of its advancements. China to launch ambitious moon mission Helen-Davidson in Taipei-Sun, the 5th of May 2024, 02:16 BST share. The worsening rivalry between the world's two most powerful countries that has in recent years spread across the world has now extended beyond the terrestrial into the realms of the celestial. As China has become deeply enmeshed in strategic competition with the US, while edging towards outright hostilities with other regional neighbors, Washington's alarm at the pace of its advancement in space is growing ever louder. Beijing has made no secret over its ambitions, and a spate of recent successful space missions has shown that the government's rhetoric is backed by technological advance. On Friday, China launched a robotic spacecraft on a round trip to the moon's far side, in a technically demanding mission that will pave the way for an inaugural Chinese crewed landing and a base on the lunar South Pole. The Chang'e-6 is aiming to bring back samples from the side of the moon that permanently faces away from Earth. Earlier this week saw the launch of the Shenzhou-18, Beijing's latest staffed spacecraft mission to the Tiangong space station, which was developed after China was excluded from the International Space Station. Along with the 3 taikonauts, a live fish which has been dubbed the 4th crew member was among the crew. The zebrafish is part of an experiment to test the viability of a large closed ecosystem involving fish and algae to help people live in space for long periods. But the collection of moon samples and the viability of zebrafish are not the only focus for China's space sector. The pace of China's ambitions has drawn concern from the government's major rival, the US, over Beijing's geopolitical intentions, amid what the head of NASA has called a new space race. Last week, the head of NASA, Bill Nelson, said the US and China were, in effect, in a race to return to the moon, and he feared that China wanted to stake territorial claims. Last week, the head of NASA, Bill Nelson, said the US and China were, in effect, in a race to return to the moon, and he feared that China wanted to stake territorial claims. We believe that a lot of their so-called civilian space program is a military program, he told US legislators. There are concerns over China's development of counterspace weapons, including missiles that can target satellites, and spacecraft that can pull satellites out of orbit. On a geopolitical level, China's space ambitions raise questions about how it might leverage its space capabilities to further its regional and domestic political and military interests, says Dr. Svetla Ben-Itzhak, Deputy Director of Johns Hopkins University's West Space Scholars Program. Jen Stephen Whiting of the U.S. Space Command told reporters last week that China's advances were cause for concern, noting it had tripled the number of spy satellites in orbit over the last 6 years. In this new space race, the moon is just the beginning. The ultimate winner may be determined by who reaches Mars first. Financial constraints and differing rocket technologies play a role in each country's progress. In summary, China's space ambitions are characterized by a focus on space tourism and hypersonic flights, backed by significant investment. The United States, on the other hand, is working towards establishing